Welcome back to another edition of the Luis Estrada Sports Report. I am your host, Luis Estrada. Let's get started in the NBA talking about the NBA draft lottery that was held this past Tuesday. Now, lots of teams go into the draft lottery with the idea that they could defy all the odds and get that number one pick. Well, nobody had a bigger long shot than the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you know what? They did just that and defied the odds. The Cleveland Cavaliers had a 1.7% chance of getting the number one pick, but they got lucky and they did it again. They have the number one pick for the second straight year and the third time in the last 4 years. Now, conspiracy theorists are already all over the place. Well, what a coincidence. The Cleveland Cavaliers once again get a high draft pick. Look, let's look at the facts. The Cleveland Cavaliers have not had a pick lower than 4 since LeBron James left the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2011, and this will be the third time that they have the number one pick in that span. So the third time in 4 years, the third time since LeBron James left, they haven't picked lower than 4th. Now, what does that say to me, as if I'm a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, is you know what? They haven't done a very good job of drafting. They haven't done a very good job of putting their team together because they are still in the lottery 3 years later, and they still cannot get in the playoffs in the very weak Eastern Conference. They're not doing the job that they need to get done. Now, could that change this year with the draft being as deep as it is? It absolutely can. You've got some really potential franchise players here in this draft, starting with Jabari Parker, the forward out of Duke. You also have Andrew Wiggins, a forward out of Kansas. Joel Embiid, who people are already speculating could be the next franchise player, the next franchise guy for anyone who gets him. However, he does have injury problems. He had back problems in his 1 year at Kansas. I would be very cautious on selecting Joel Embiid with potential problems in the injury department. And then you have point guard Dante Exum out of Australia. Now, nobody knows a lot about him. You've seen his highlights. You can YouTube his highlights, and he's going to look really, really good. However, highlights are highlights. They can be edited any way that you want to look a certain way that you want. You can edit a highlight to make yourself look like Michael Jordan. It doesn't translate necessarily to the basketball court on a complete game. Now, could that change if you see enough of him? Absolutely. He could very well be the next number one point guard in the NBA, but only time will tell. This is a very deep draft. We're going to have to really wait and see how the dominoes fall. Who is Cleveland going to take? Who is Milwaukee going to take at 2? Who's Philadelphia going to take at 3? That's really going to shape the draft and really see where everybody falls down the line. The Boston Celtics select 6. The Los Angeles Lakers select 7. 2 storied franchises that are in the lottery for the first time together. This is the first time since the lottery was invented back in 1985 that the 2 franchises have been in the lottery at the same time. Very, very interesting time. And it's only the 3rd time that the Lakers have ever been in the lottery. They're drafting number 7. They slipped one spot from 6 to 7. And now the question is, who do they draft? Well, we don't know. It's going to depend on who's there and who's not there. You're hearing names like Julius Randle out of Kentucky. You're also hearing Aaron Gordon out of Arizona as 2 potential picks that they could be looking at. But the Lakers got a bigger problem. The Lakers are still looking for a head coach. Mike D'Antoni resigned a few weeks ago, and now the coaching search really is going in high gear right now. And who's going to be the next Lakers coach? Who knows? You hear the names. Byron Scott's already been interviewed. You also have Mike Dunleavy Sr., who's already been interviewed. Kevin Ollie out of UConn was a potential candidate. However, he has re-signed with UConn, agreeing to an extension of 5 years with UConn. You're also hearing names like Jeff Van Gundy and George Karl as well. So who's going to be the coach? Who knows? We do know this. Right now is the time for the Lakers to really go after and get their new coach, whoever that may be. You've also heard the names of Chicago Bulls head coach Tom Thibodeau as a potential candidate for this job as well. So there's a lot of different directions the Lakers could go. My personal pick, I would love to see George Karl in as the next Lakers head coach. However, the front runner seems to be Byron Scott. He would be a really good fit for this team. He was an analyst this past year at Time Warner Cable, so he knows the team. He knows what the team can do, and he's a former Laker. He knows what it means to be in this town and really guide that team to the next level. So we'll have to wait and see. But Laker fans, let me caution you. Next year is going to be a rebuilding year. This is not going to be another year of we're back in the playoffs, we're back here. No, this is a rebuilding process. The Lakers are not going to be a legitimate championship contender for the next few years. They need to redo the whole organization. They need to get, as much as I love Kobe Bryant, guess what? He's on the downside of his career. He's going to be great the next couple of years, but he's not going to get you over the hump anymore. He's going to end up being more of a role player. So you got to find a new star. Now, Rumors are possibly Kevin Love. But you know what? Kevin Love, he's not coming to the Lakers in a trade. They don't have the assets to give Minnesota what they want. However, could he come as a free agent next year? Yes, that is a distinct possibility if Kevin Love decides he wants to come here. That's going to be up to Kevin Love and his situation. So we'll have to wait and see. Laker fans, I know it's tough, but you know what? This is a rebuilding process. It's going to take a few years. We just went through it a few years ago before the Pau Gasol trade. Now you're going to go through it again. Relax, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. No need to start saying, oh, well, we need to do it now. This isn't going to be a now process. This is a rebuilding process. They're not going to say it publicly, but that's what it is. We've got to get used to it. Switching gears now to the NFL. The NFL draft happened a few weeks ago, and the NFL draft is always one of my favorite drafts of the year because you get to see how the wheeling and dealing goes. And I got to tell you, one of the teams that blew me away were the Houston Texans, drafting Jadeveon Clowney #1, and then coming back with Xavier Su'a-Filo #2. I thought that was great. They got their pass rusher. They got some help on the offensive line. Now, they did address their quarterback situation in the 4th round by drafting quarterback Tom Savage out of Pitt. I think he's got some potential there, but we'll have to wait and see how he develops. I really also liked what the Oakland Raiders did, drafting Khalil Mack #1 and then getting Derek Carr #2. I thought that was really good for them. I like what the Rams did. They really beefed up their offensive line and their defensive line as well. They really got physical. And in that division, when you have Seattle and San Francisco, you're going to need to be physical on the offensive line. Switching gears now, I want to talk about Yasiel Puig of the Los Angeles Dodgers now. Yasiel Puig is one of those very rare players to come along in a long time that has a lot of charisma. He's got a lot of flash, but he also has the stats and he has the ability to back it up. Now, it does have a tendency to rub people the wrong way, and I get that. Not everyone's going to like him. Not everybody liked LeBron James when he first entered the league. Not everybody liked Manny Ramirez. But let me tell you something. Yasiel Puig is going to be the guy in Major League Baseball for years to come. He and Mike Trout and Bryce Harper are going to be your top 3 guys. Now, people don't like him because he's a little flashy. Well, let me tell you some of the other players who were flashy. Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, just to name a few. There are many, many, many others that have come through baseball who are flashy, who they did what they wanted and they backed it up. You know who else they said that about? Muhammad Ali. Yasiel Puig is going to be an all-star for years and years to come. Possibly a Hall of Famer by the time he's done, if he keeps going the way that he is. People don't like his attitude. People don't like his flashy. They don't like his bat flip. But let me tell you something. Ken Griffey Jr. used to watch his home runs. Barry Bonds would hit him out of the park, and he would stand there and watch him. Yasiel Puig is not the first guy to be a little bit flashy and to rub people the wrong way, but he's a 5-tool player. The guy is spectacular. If you have not seen it yet, go see the play that he made yesterday on the Mets, Wilmer Flores, in the 2nd inning of yesterday's game with the Dodgers. I'm going to tell you, one of the absolute greatest catches I've ever seen, and he almost doubled up a guy on first base. Yasiel Puig can hit for power, average, he's got speed, he's got an arm, and he can field. He's got the 5 tools. I would say sit back, relax, and enjoy watching a guy like Yasiel Puig. You don't have to be a Dodger fan to like it. Look at his abilities. People said the same things about guys like LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Muhammad Ali. Same mold. Watch this guy. This guy is a player. Lastly, here on the Louis Estrada Show, I want to switch gears and talk WWE and wrestling. On April 8th, the WWE suffered a huge tragedy in the passing of one of its legends, Hall of Famer, The Ultimate Warrior. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with The Ultimate Warrior and his path in the WWE, he left in the mid-90s. He did not have a very good relationship with them. He was able to come back after years, just got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and he just had shown up at WrestleMania to receive the accolades of the fans, which was absolutely, for me personally, and I know a lot of Ultimate Warrior fans throughout the globe, was a huge honor to see him back in a WWE ring. He returned to Monday Night Raw the next day on April 7th, and he just gave a promo that was really, really telling, and you could really see it came from the bottom of his heart. And he passed away the next day of a massive heart attack at the age of 54. And one of the things that really, really bothered me when he passed was you had a lot of the people in the media who went out and started saying it was a drug-related issue, it was because of steroids, it was because of this and because of that. Now, the coroner report says that there were no drugs found in his system at the time of him passing. He had a massive heart attack. Now, one individual in particular, I'm not going to mention their name, went on the air the next day and had just a huge field day with this, saying how drugs are bad in the WWE and wrestling in general, and how there's this huge drug problem, and really associated his death with drugs, which I thought was completely wrong. And then they showed a list of wrestlers that had died prematurely and associated them all to drugs. One of those that were on the list was the late great Owen Hart. And for those of you who don't know, Owen Hart died in the ring. Owen Hart died live on a pay-per-view when he fell from the top of a roof as he was supposed to ascend down on wires into the middle of the ring. Well, the safety rig snapped. He fell down and he hit his face on the top turnbuckle and he died. Okay, he didn't die because of drugs. He didn't die because he was shooting or doing steroids. He died in the ring because of that tragedy. They had others listed there that had died other ways than drugs. Now, you want to say that there's a drug problem in the WWE or in wrestling in general, fine. I don't know for a fact one way or the other. However, don't sit there and sugarcoat and try to just say wrestling is bad. There are drugs everywhere. We know that we know people who do drugs. We've seen people who do drugs. You know what? They're everywhere. There are actors and celebrities who have been celebrated that died because of drug overdoses. Some of those include Whitney Houston, who died of drowning associated with cocaine. You had Chris Farley, Philip Seymour Hoffman, who just passed away, great actor, heroin overdose. How many musicians, actors, singers, celebrities that you see every day have died because of drug overdose? Don't try to sit here and say drugs are only a problem in the WWE. That is wrong. Absolutely wrong. You want to go to steroids? Baseball has a whole era called the steroid era. What does that tell you? It tells you how big and rampant that was in baseball. Are they cleaning it up? Yes. WWE has a drug policy in place to try to prevent and catch people who are doing drugs and clean up the sport. Okay? But don't sit here and try to say it's only the WWE or it's only wrestling. No, drugs are everywhere. It is not prevalent in one area and not another. Okay, the passing of the late, great Ultimate Warrior is a tragedy. Somebody lost their husband, somebody lost their father. And it's important to realize that no matter how these individuals died, somebody lost a husband, somebody lost a spouse, a brother, a son, a father. That's what's most important, not how. So I say this to the late, great Ultimate Warrior, thank you for entertaining the fans as much as you did for all those years that you did. Thank you for coming back and letting us be part of your lives and letting us be able to live our dreams through you, through your character. Thank you.